For 53 years, we stayed within the safety of our atmosphere. We convinced ourselves that the moon was a museum, a silver trophy locked in the sky, silent and understood. We turned a cosmic graveyard into a romantic poem. But on April 1st, 2026, the poetry stopped. The world watched the Space Launch System ignite, pushing 8.8 million pounds of thrust against the weight of human history. We cheered for the 4 souls aboard the Orion capsule: Wiseman, Glover, Koch, and Hansen. We called it a homecoming. It was a trespass. Today, we look past the NASA press releases. We look into the darkness to remember the deadly reality of the moon and the true horror of what it means to leave the only planet that wants us alive. NASA calls it the Integrity Capsule, a name designed to inspire confidence. But minutes before launch, the atmosphere in Houston wasn't one of triumph. It was one of suppressed panic. The flight termination system, a line of high-grade explosives designed to shred the rocket if it veers off course, began giving ghost readings. Think about that. To reach the moon, you must sit on top of a bomb that is programmed to kill you if you fail. They launched anyway. They survived the climb. But once the engines cut, the modern marvel of our technology began to fray. We spent millions on a universal waste management system, a luxury toilet for deep space. In the zero-gravity vacuum, a single fan failure turned that luxury into a nightmare. The crew was forced to return to the methods of their grandfathers, urinating into plastic bags while drifting 300,000 kilometers from help. Even the digital world abandoned them. Thousands of miles into the void, the crew found themselves locked out of their own systems, unable to log into Microsoft Outlook. It is a chilling reminder. In the abyss, you are not a conqueror. You are a biological entity trapped in a glitchy metal SUV, struggling to maintain basic dignity. We dream of the moon's sand, but the moon has no sand. It has regolith. Because there is no wind to erode the rocks, the surface is covered in microscopic shards of jagged glass. This is the cosmic asbestos. It does not just cling to suits, it eats them. It erodes seals. If an astronaut inhales it, the shards embed themselves into the lung tissue, slicing through cells at a microscopic level. There is no cure. The moon does not want you to walk on it. It wants to dissolve you from the inside out. And then there is the radiation. Artemis 2 launched during the solar maximum, the peak of the sun's 11-year cycle of violence. To reach the moon, the crew had to dive through the Van Allen belts, a gauntlet of high-charge lethal radiation. Outside the Earth's magnetic shield, they were defenseless. Galactic cosmic rays born from supernova explosions traveled at nearly the speed of light to punch through the hull of the Orion. Every second they spent out there, their DNA was being subtly rewritten by the fury of the stars. On April 6th, the Integrity swung around the far side, the half that permanently faces the blackness. For 40 minutes, the moon itself blocked every radio signal. Total silence. Houston was gone. Earth was a memory. What they saw shattered our models. The far side is not like the face we see. It is a wall of craters stacked on top of craters, a 4-billion-year record of cosmic violence. They saw the South Pole Aitken Basin, a scar so large it would swallow the United States from Texas to Virginia. Beneath its floor lies a mass anomaly, a metallic blob 5 times larger than the Big Island of Hawaii, buried 300 kilometers deep. It is the heart of an ancient asteroid, a bullet lodged in the moon's mantle that we are only now beginning to understand. They found heat where there should be death. A thermal anomaly 50 kilometers wide, registering 10 degrees Celsius warmer than its surroundings. Granite, a rock that requires water and tectonics to form, is hiding in the lunar crust. The moon is not a dead rock. It is a world of magnetic ghosts and unexplained tremors. Victor Glover radioed down that the Terminator line looked like a black hole you could fall through. He was right. To look at the moon's far side is to realize that humans were never evolved to see this. NASA is no longer interested in the view. They have canceled the Lunar Gateway Station. They have stopped talking about orbit. The focus is now the dirt, specifically the South Pole. The South Pole is a region of eternal shadow. Some craters haven't seen sunlight in billions of years. At minus 390 degrees Fahrenheit, these pits hold the moon's greatest treasure: water ice. We are not going back for science. We are going for fuel. Water is oxygen. Water is hydrogen. The South Pole is a gas station for a war we haven't started yet. But the path to that gas station is an engineering nightmare. SpaceX's Starship must be refueled by 14 separate tanker flights in low Earth orbit before it can even attempt a landing. It is a logistics chain so fragile that a single failure collapses the entire timeline. And we are in a race. China's Chang'e program has already touched the far side. They have returned samples. Their goal is 2030. If NASA's heat shield, which returned from Artemis 2, chewed up and charred beyond the computer model's predictions, cannot be fixed, the American lead evaporates. During the flyby, the crew looked out and saw the Earth set. They watched their entire world slip behind a gray, dead horizon. In that moment of absolute isolation, Commander Reed Wiseman named a crater Carol, after his late wife, a bright spot on the boundary between light and dark. It is a haunting image. A man 400,000 kilometers away from home, marking a dead world with the name of someone he lost on a living one. We build rockets, we don armor. We delude ourselves into thinking we are conquering the moon. But the moon cannot be conquered. You can only survive it for moments at a time. Artemis 2 proved that we can go back. It proved we can survive the 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit plasma of re-entry at Mach 33. But it also proved that the moon is an indifferent colossus. It does not care about our flags. It does not care about our integrity. We are fragile creatures of water and bone, dangling over an endless abyss. As we rush back into the great sea of darkness, we must remember, the moon is not a home. It is a factory, a graveyard, and a mirror that shows us exactly how small we really are.